When I was 16, I worked at a small gas station on a lonely street. I did it for a quick buck, only working 20 hours a week. It was easy and we were never busy. So most of the time, I would sit at the counter and do schoolwork. The gas station was small, inside and out. 4 pumps sat in front, just right off the side of the road. And the building itself was smaller. There was a 1-room bathroom, 1 middle row of snacks, 2 fridges, and then my little counter area. We had a back room, but it was used as storage instead of a break room. Behind the building was a large dumpster, but to access it, you had to walk out of the front door and around the building. Most people I saw were passing through, only stopping for gas, a pee break or a quick bite. The small town I lived in, Tattersall, wasn't a tourist town. The hot dogs that turned slowly on the burner were old. But I couldn't tell people that. My boss was a cheapskate and a money-hungry bastard. But he paid me, so I never complained. I let people buy chips that sat on the shelf for months, old hot dogs, and drinks that might as well have been a school science experiment. I always felt bad, and I was always a little nervous that I could get in trouble for selling the things. But my boss reassured me that everything would be fine and nobody will ever know. One evening it was slower than normal. I had only seen 2 cars, and that was nearly an hour ago. Naturally, when a black Honda Civic pulled up, it caught my attention. Stepping out was a couple, maybe in their late 20s. The man opened the back door and grabbed a backpack while the women walked around and began to pump gas. I went back to my schoolwork, not thinking very much of it. If they needed help, they could always just come inside. The husband disappeared from view, but it was whatever. I went back to my pre-calculus homework, trying to figure out trigonometry. I fucking hated trigonometry. A few minutes later, the couple got back into the car and pulled away. I caught a glimpse of the man, who no longer had the backpack. Being more focused on my homework, I just assumed he had already thrown it in the back of the car again. And I just missed it. Later that evening, I was about to take out the trash. Hillary, an older woman with a severe cigarette issue, was supposed to take over for me. I offered to take out the trash, to which she agreed, and I walked around to the back of the building. A bad smell hit me in the face as I rounded the corner, but it was a large dumpster with God knows what, so it was bound to smell. Walking over, I threw the lid to the dumpster open and lugged the bag over my shoulder and into the green bin. When I shut the thing, something caught my eye. A backpack, the same backpack the man had earlier. It looked wet, as if you had spilled a water bottle into the bottom of a bag. It hunched over in an odd position. You could tell there was something in it. Being a 16-year-old guy, curiosity got the best of me, and I mistakenly opened the thing. Inside was what I could assume was a body. It was a deep red and pink in places, or I think it was. The black inner lining of the backpack made it hard to tell for certain. It stank, much worse than the dumpster nearby, and I could see chunks of meat and little white things sticking every which way. It looked like roadkill that had been hit by several cars. I turned around, vomiting the little bit I had in my stomach. Tears sprang to my eyes as it turned into acid coming up. Or I think it was acid. I know for certain I lost all my lunch. I stumbled back around the building, crashing into the wall and trying to wipe the vomit that was dribbling down my chin. I stumbled through the doors, catching Hillary's attention immediately. I choked out the words, something about a body, and felt the need to vomit again. She grabbed the phone, dialing 911 and speaking frantically. I shoved past her into the one bathroom. We had and stayed hunched over the toilet until the cops arrived. The rest of my evening and night was a blur. When the cops arrived, I was sitting on the nasty bathroom floor. I didn't care how gross it was. I couldn't bring myself to think of anything except what I had seen. I wanted so desperately to forget the horrid sight. A female officer came and found me, a shocked look appearing on her face as she saw my condition. "Hey there, you're Zach, right?" She sounded so soft, like a mother comforting their child after a nightmare. I could only nod in response. She sat beside me, putting an arm around my shoulder, and pulled me into a comforting hold. It felt like we sat there for hours. Just the sounds of other officers and occasionally, Hillary's voice piercing the silence. I don't remember exactly what happened. I was in and out of it through the rest of the night. My parents showed up. My mother frantically wrapped her arms around me. I gave my story to the officers. I couldn't talk to them without a guardian present. That's at least what my father explained to me later. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. I can't forget it, the smell and the sight. I told a few friends a few weeks after it happened, but I kept the gory details out of the telling. I couldn't bring myself to tell them what I saw. From what I have heard, the cops still don't know what happened. The body was unrecognizable. I'm honestly not sure how they even determined it was human. But I'm no forensic scientist. I never got any answers. Nothing about DNA or whatever they do. Nothing about the black Honda Civic. There was nothing. At least not that anyone told me. Eventually the case went cold, and nobody knows what happened to the body in the backpack. I never particularly liked killing. I only did it because that's all I knew, and it kept my stomach full. Orphaned at 7, my grandpa, who was an assassin, took me in. By the age of 15, I had become a pro. When my grandpa passed away when I was 18, I took over his place in the underworld. I'm 32 now, with more money than I know what to do with. 2 retirements worth. Figured I'll do one last job before I retire for good. Maybe get married and start a family. My client, gold watch, tailored gilt, welcomed me into his office. Extremely rich and powerful. Deep in both the legal ventures and secretly, the underworld. Cigarette in my mouth, I take a seat before him. A kid. I pause mid-drag. 7 years ago I had a fling. Turned into a marriage. She got pregnant. Tried to leave, wouldn't let go. I couldn't divorce. Too many eyes on my assets, my ties. Can't risk being exposed. He sighed. So I burned the house down. Clean accident, no loose ends. Or so I thought. Kid survived. Found him now, 2 years later in an orphanage, quieture. No memories, but I want him gone. Make it look like an accident. I lower the cigarette. Death paid. I crush it in the ashtray. And I killed. You got it. Had I ever drawn a line? The orphanage was small, run by an old friend who'd buried her past. This makes things easier for me. Didn't think you did reunions. Looking to adopt. You? I shrug. I'm retiring. She smiled. She looked so peacefully serene. About time. I asked her about the boy. Oren, huh? Scarred, blind in the left eye. Quiet but smart. Been here for 2 years now, but people want the ones with bright smiles and perfect skin. He's, well, she trails off. I told her I'd file for adoption. I don't think I've ever seen her that happy. Said I wanted to start bonding early. She agreed. He sat beside me in the car, eyes looking lifeless. Ever seen a bonfire? He shook his head. We drove. Few minutes of silence passed. Why me? I don't answer. Why the moth over all those butterflies? Scars make me a moth, right? He touches the scar beneath his left eye. I don't blame people. If I had to choose between a moth and a butterfly, I'd pick the butterfly too. We drive in silence. The car rolls to a stop in an empty field. Dry grass, cold air. A stack of wood stands ahead. Beneath it a coffin bound in many ropes. We step out together. Twilight had begun to set in. Butterflies, I say, flicking the lighter to life, are born to be pretty. I hand him the lighter. Moths are born to find light in the dark. Gently blocking his ears to keep the screams away, I gesture him to toss it. I'd rather fly with purpose than float for applause. My sister kept a diary. The last page is in my handwriting. I don't know how to explain this without sounding guilty, or insane, or both. But I need to get it out. I need someone to tell me this is just grief messing with my head. My sister Alina died 4 months ago. Official cause, suicide. She jumped from the old railway bridge near our hometown. No note, no hesitation apparently. A hiker saw her standing on the edge and then gone. She was 22. She was quiet, private, brilliant in the kind of way that makes teachers obsessed and friends feel slightly uneasy. But she was never sad, at least not outwardly. And I should know. We shared a house, shared late-night talks, shared everything except secrets. Or so I thought. 3 days ago, I went through her things to finally clean out her room. That's when I found the journal. It's leather-bound, plain. Hidden inside an old backpack under her bed. Wrapped in a black hoodie. Like she didn't want it found. At first, it's pretty normal. Pages of thoughts, sketches, weird little poems. Then it shifts, gets darker. She writes about the silence in the mirror. And does the man with no teeth. Who smiles when I sleep? I figured it was metaphor. Some creative outlet for mental health, right? But then the entries start mentioning me. He was in my room again last night. He always forgets he's talking in his sleep. Sometimes I think he doesn't know what he's doing. Sometimes I think he does. I have no memory of any of this. I've never sleepwalked, never had blackouts, never heard voices. But she kept writing, and it escalates. He asked me where I'd hide a body if I had to. He laughed, but he wasn't joking. I found dirt under my nails this morning. I don't remember digging. He keeps saying we're not twins. We are. I think he's trying to convince me I'm not real. We're not twins. I'm 2 years older. But the final entry, it stopped my heart. It says, he says I jumped, but I haven't yet. Maybe I should before he makes it worse. It's dated 3 days before her death. That's already strange, but it's the handwriting and that gets me. It's mine. I've compared it to my journals, my class notes, old birthday cards. I'd swear under oath I wrote that page, but I didn't. I know I didn't. Unless I don't remember. The police ruled it a suicide. No foul play. No suspicious activity. They barely even looked through her things. They said grief can mess with memory. That her final texts to me, I'm sorry and it's quiet now, sealed it. But the text history has a deleted message, just one, sent at 3:08 a.m. You told me to write it down. I did. Please don't make me jump. I never saw that message. I don't know how it got deleted. I don't know why I'm dreaming about the bridge now every night. I don't know why the dirt under my fingernails won't come off. I want to believe I'm innocent. But what if she didn't jump? What if I helped her? And what if that voice I hear whispering while I sleep isn't her? It sounds like me.